the side of the Minardi, and David Coulthard has taken the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix away from Michael Schumacher.
And Coulthard then, is this good enough for provisional pole position? Yes, it is at the moment. Fantastic 23.0. So Coulthard pulls one out of the bag at a crucial time of the Grand Prix season.
It was a surprise, but delighted to get the pole position. And I'm putting it down to the glasses, because I saw Mika wearing his blue ones last week, so I thought I had to go for orange this week.
He put the rest in the shade in Brazil. Now David Coulthard's top of the charts again on pole at Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix. Hello there, good afternoon. A very happy Easter to you all. The European F1 season starts right here. Bit more like it at Imola today. Lots of blue sky, nice sunshine, a very pleasant 15 degrees, a big contrast to that rain and chill we had in qualifying yesterday. David Coulthard goes well here. He won in 1998 and he's been on the podium twice since then. Here are the latest standings for you. 3 times world champion on the top. The Scot 6 points behind. Before his Brazilian triumph, Coulthard, he was second in Australia. He won in Malaysia and he's quickest in morning warm-up here as well. Barrichello rarely does well at this track. He's got 10 points. Heidfeld, an impressive 4th for Sauber. Frentzen, he won here back in 97, and Panis scored British American Racing's first points at Interlagos. Tony Jardine and Mark Blundell with me again. Now Mark, first one for you. We have Coulthard on pole, but Michael Schumacher saying, you got it wrong, pal, you got the wrong tyres. Explain that to us.
Well, Schumacher's on the harder tyre, and he feels that's going to be the way to go, and I can only think that they may take a one-stop option. A couple of guys did it last year, but the critical factor will be that it is so tough on brakes around here, so the wear rate will be high. If they do go for one stop, it'll be interesting. Montoya had a few people thinking from Brazil, the pace with that one stop, Ferrari might go and do it.
Let's talk about David Coulthard. He's never had back-to-back victories in Formula One. How important is it for him to get a run going, Tony?
Well, the role is all important, you know, and he's had the best start he's had to a season for a long, long time. But there is a great feeling that there should be a bit more attention on his side of the garage, rather than that, you know, Häkkinen relationship with Ron Dennis, which he has to break. They're working on that. If they get behind him a bit more, I'm sure he can keep producing the results like this.
Okay, let's take a look back at qualifying. Michael Schumacher was trying to equal Ayrton Senna's all-time record of 8 successive poles. At one stage, Mark, it looked as though he's going to do it.
Oh, a tremendous lap he put together, and he's pushing very, very hard. Obviously trying to keep the Tifosi happy. A lot of pressure on his shoulders. But, you know, as much as he pushed, I don't think he was going to get it done by the end. And it was a great qualifying.
It was a terrific session, wasn't it? Mika Häkkinen's been on pole here for the last couple of years, and he's put that McLaren on the front row again.
But he's never won this race. He'd love to win this race, and McLaren have been very dominant here. They don't have that dominance anymore. They don't have that power advantage that Mercedes has had over the last 2 years, having to work very hard. He actually got stuck a little bit behind Michael Schumacher on his last run. When Schumacher locked up, he did the same, lost fractions of a second. Nonetheless, he's very happy with the team effort, first front row for a long time.
And in overtime, Tony, David Coulthard, a lap record and pole.
But the team have made a fabulous effort because they damaged the chassis on Friday. They rebuilt a new chassis up till 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. All the engineers back at working overtime as well. So a big team effort behind David. He made adjustments all the way through to the penultimate lap when he started feeling it a bit better, but he said he didn't think he could do it. And he radioed through in the end, actually said, I don't think that lap was good enough.
But of course it was, and Ralf Schumacher good enough to out-qualify elder brother for a change.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to this brotherly love syndrome. I know when I play my brother at squash, you know, I want to kill him. But let's wait and see. Ralf Schumacher's been sticking some lovely laps together in qualifying, but he still doesn't get it done by the race. You know, Brazil was a little bit of a disaster, but he needs to make up for this one.
Sure. Right then, Tony, you just take us through the grid, could you?
Well, this is the first McLaren front row since Austria last year, so that's great for the McLaren team, great for all the people back and woking all that support. Ralf Schumacher and his brother together again. When they were together 10 years ago in a kart race, Michael punted his brother off at the start. Truly magnificent effort to take 5th place. And then 6th, Barrichello had problems with traffic. Montoya put a wheel on the grass and he lost some time there. Frentzen also had traffic. Raikkonen saying 10th is not good enough. Great attitude there. And Villeneuve been headed up by Panis, so he's well behind his teammate. Irvine, new development to the Cosworth engine, a new front tyre from Michelin, not good enough yet again. And Bertie, a little crash for him yesterday. Verstappen alongside Alonso, 18th place. He said it felt like pole position. Why? He's ahead of the two Benettons, Fisichella there with the development of the Renault engine, and Button down in 21st place, Marquez 22nd.
Tony, thanks very much indeed. Before the race, we have a special feature on Juan Pablo Montoya. We'll also be talking to Formula One Supremo Bernie Ecclestone, trying to clarify one or two of the political going on in the world of Formula One. But now we're going to have a word with the man of the moment. Remember David Coulthard dancing that samba of joy after his victory in Brazil, and now he's put his McLaren on the front row. Round one to him in Ferrari country. Here he is with Martin Brundle.
David, it was a great qualifying session yesterday, absolutely thrilling. And at the right moment you delivered a new lap record. You've had a difficult season for qualifying. How have you suddenly turned that around?
You know, the honest answer is I haven't really done anything different, but you know, clearly we've been working on the car, and I think that at the beginning of the season when we had a lot of understeer in the car, Mika was more able to drive around that understeer, and I think that I need the front end, I need to be able to attack the corner, to be able to have the confidence to do the lap time. And as we've been improving the car with many changes, then it started to respond more in the way that I like it to drive, and obviously the lap time's coming from that.
As you were going round, were you thinking every corner as you got out of it, were you thinking, yes, this is working well? Was it feeling good?
It was, but you know, as you know, there's two ways you can go into a qualifying lap. Building on what you've done in the previous runs and knowing you're just going to have to eke out another couple of tenths, and knowing that you have to go considerably quicker, and that's the way I went into that run. And it was a little uncomfortable going to each of the first chicane, second chicane, carrying so much speed into the corner, not honestly knowing whether the car was capable of taking the speed I was carrying. And every time I came out of a corner, it was a relief more than anything. And then obviously once I got to Acaminerali and managed that corner well, it was a case of just being sensible in the big stops.
Now, you passed Michael Schumacher to take the win in Brazil with an amazing move. You were in the spray of two cars and you still kept your foot down when Michael lifted. Do you think every time you see his gearbox, I can pass you?
Yeah. If you can see anyone's gearbox that closely, then you're going to pass them. You know, it's as simple as that. Whether it's Michael or whether it's any car.
Is it greater pleasure though when it's Michael?
You know, I think afterwards, when you're talking about it with people, then it sort of sinks in, yes. But when you're actually doing your job, he's just another competitor. You know, he doesn't carry this aura on the track that he appears to carry to the public or to other people around the paddock. You know, I think it's significant that he lifted going through the left-hander onto the straight and others didn't. You know, I think that shows he had a doubt. It shows he, despite his many great achievements, and I'm not trying to devalue at all what he's achieved in Formula One, but it shows that he is human, and he does have those moments of I don't fancy this much, and you know, my commitment there, obviously my hunger to achieve is maybe a little bit higher because he's already won 3 championships.
Now the McLarens are coming on strong nicely. You're only 6 points behind Michael. What's in your mind about him and about the championship?
I don't think about the championship at all. I think that that's a result of a combination of good results in races, and I don't think you can sit at the beginning of the season and look at that as, you know, of course it's your goal, but you can't look at that as a big picture because you have every Grand Prix along the way to trying to win that championship is very different. So you have to focus 100% on that race. You know, I'm not even really aware of the fact that we're in Italy. Someone was asking, you know, how does it feel to take away the front row from the Italians in Italy? Well, this is another Grand Prix. It could be anywhere. You know, when you're really focused on trying to get the job done, it doesn't matter what the scenery is. Of course, it's very red here, but it's only when you leave the track you realise that maybe you're not as welcome as some others in this country.
It's a bit lively in the roads around this circuit, doesn't it? But he's making great play of the fact that he is hungrier than Michael Schumacher, and the world champion lifted in Brazil.
Yes, psychology game. But DC is strong in the head at the moment. He really is. And when he's strong in the head, he's going to be connected to the right foot. And this is the acid test for me. If DC gets away from this race with another win, I think this could be the beginning of building a championship. Brazil, pole, there's only one thing left for him to do, and I think he could do it.
Tony, where does he stand now in the McLaren team? The McLaren bosses say they're both equal, Häkkinen and Coulthard. Some people feel that Häkkinen is perhaps a bit more equal than David.
There's no question about it that they are equal number one and they get equal equipment and machinery. You can see Ron Dennis there. I think Ron just needs to give David Coulthard a big hug every now and then and say, go on son, go for it, whatever, because there is a special relationship between him and Hakkinen. There's Adrian Newey, the technical director. They're seen on Hakkinen's side of the garage more than they are on David's side of the garage. And sometimes David says he is disadvantaged on the track tactically by decisions made by Big Ron. So if he can continue this way, they get more behind him. Perhaps, as Mark says, we'll get more of this role continuing.
Okay, well now let's turn our attention to the man who has taken Formula One by storm this year, Juan Pablo Montoya. Could have won in Brazil if he hadn't been taken out by the Dutchman Jos Verstappen. You'd have thought Holland would be the last place he'd visit, but that's where Louise Goodman caught up with him in Amsterdam.
What was it like when you drove a Formula One car for the first time?
You know, you come from a smaller Formula, when you get to drive a Formula One car, you start going faster through the corners where you think is fast. And every lap you can go faster and faster and faster, and you can't believe it.
Montoya has been going faster and faster at every race this season, and as he showed us in Brazil, he's more than capable of mixing it with and beating the best drivers in the world. So far, his full-throttle driving style has brought little reward. The Colombian hasn't finished a race yet, but even though fate has conspired against him, he's always maintained a cool head.
I can't believe how calm you were. I mean, you just got out and waved to the fans and said thank you to the sponsors and...
But there's nothing else you can do. I think last year, that's something I learned in America. Last year, at the beginning, I was really pissed off. First race, the engine blew up, you're like, oh, it's okay, it's first race. Second race, same thing. Third race, same thing. Fourth race, you go, argh! Or, when the engine's only last, something else breaks. And it was really frustrating. And I had to learn to keep calm because the next race will come.
Last year may have been difficult, but there were plenty of good times for Juan Pablo in the US. He became the youngest man ever to win the Champ Car Series in '99, and last year added the prestigious Indy 500 race to his list of victories.
I think, going to America built my confidence, and coming here, I didn't say, my goals never been go out the first season and, beat everybody, because the car wasn't ready, tire were not ready, engine wasn't ready yet to win. So I came to a car that is moving, it's in is climbing to get to the top again. And I think what we've shown in Brazil, and as the season is starting to get on, is that we have the potential to be up front.
And you don't seem to be daunted by any of the other drivers either.
No, not really. They're good drivers. It's very competitive series, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna go and it's this guy. No, you can't. You're racing and you're here because you're capable of doing a job. From my perspective, I'm not gonna go and say, it's Michael Schumacher or it's Mika Hakkinen or something. Be after you. You can't. We're racing, and my goal is to win races, not to let somebody else win.
Do you think that might lead some people to believe that maybe you're sort of a bit overconfident or cocky and,
I'm not cocky because I know I have loads of things to learn. I'm just in a learning curve, and there's a lot of things that I'm in disadvantage. It's my third race in Formula One. Qualifying, for example, I haven't got it right yet. First race a bit under, last race, a bit too much. But, you learn from that, and you gotta try to make it better.
Williams with the team one way and another that everybody was talking about in Brazil. Do you think it will be the same at Imola? Are you on an upward spiral?
I think, Brazil was a really good race for us, and I think it inspired a lot of people. I think people, could see light at the end of the tunnel, we could say, They see they're capable of get to win races now, and, there's still a lot more work to do before we can be, I think, all time on maximum level, but it's definitely getting better.
Confident, not cocky, the odd embellishment to his English, but are we getting too worked up about him too soon? I mean, he hasn't he had a pit stop, has he?
He hasn't delivered yet in terms of result, Jim, but believe me, this guy's got awesome car control. I've been wheel to wheel with this guy over 200 miles an hour, and he is perfect. And he's second to none for me in ability, and I think he's the future of the sport. But, JPM, do not write the guy off. He will be strong.
Heck of a calling card he gave to Michael Schumacher, wasn't it?
Oh, what more can you say? I mean, no respect for a world champion. There's nobody else out there to worry about. He's done him and he's dusted, and JPM will go on.
I personally am getting a bit worried about Jenson Button, the man he replaced at Williams, Tony, who's having a desperately difficult time with Benetton.
Well, he's feeling very frustrated because he's seeing this car that Montoya's stepping into, which he helped develop as well. And there he is, you know, discussing stuff with his engineers. Very difficult time. But he did get the Lorenzo Bandini Award over this weekend for Best Newcomer in 2000, about 30 kilometres north of here. Helped him a little bit. And he says, I feel like kicking the car at times. But there's also suggestions coming back to us that the car very difficult for him to drive, and they're saying you better change your driving style, you know, adapt yourself, because we can't change a car.
Can you change your driving style briefly?
Well, you have to adapt, but you won't change your driving style. For me, that is a no-no. I mean, like Jenson, do not do it. Get the car to suit you. That's the thing.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm sure you'll be aware Formula One can be a pretty political world, and I'm sure you've seen lots of the stories suggesting that there could be new owners, that the motor manufacturers could break away and form their own series, even that you out there couldn't have to pay to see your F1 on the telly. And when this stuff is flying around, there's only one man to visit. Bernie, I think there's a fair bit of confusion out there as to what is happening with the politics of Formula One. Give us your view of the current state of play.
A lot of confusion. I think that's about it. No, all that's simply happened is that the operating companies in Formula One are the same as they've always been. I'm the chief executive, and nothing's changed. Nothing's changed at all. The people, EMTV, were the original people, the TV company. Well, they're not actually a TV company. They call themselves EMTV, but they're not. They're people, programmers in Munich that originally took 50% of the company. Have taken their option for another 25%, but it's nothing to do with the operating company at all.
How about the manufacturers, Bernie?
They think that they would like to be involved, which they had a good opportunity over the period to be involved if they wanted to be. And they missed the boat a little bit because I think they misjudged what was going to happen. But I think in the end, people will start talking.
Do you think that you ultimately are going to have to broker a deal to keep, and you're not bad at that, I have to say, to keep all parties satisfied?
I think they'll broker their deals themselves. You know, they know what they want and what they're trying to achieve. So I think it will sort itself out in the end.
Is it a case from the manufacturer's point of view of them coming into Formula One when it is sexy, when it is very strong?
No, I think the problem was, as long as they thought I was totally in control, which I never have been actually,
really?
They were happy. And they think, you know, I suddenly keel over or something happens to me, and they don't really want to be in the hands of somebody they don't know. I think that's the truth.
What sort of credibility would you put on a rival series to Formula One being formed by the manufacturers?
I haven't got the slightest idea. I think they'd be a little bit silly if they decided this is the way to go, because they can do it in a much better way. I mean, really, they're in Formula One to sell their products. That's what they're there for, not to run races or run race teams or anything like that. So I suppose in the end, that's probably what they'll come down to that and say, well, that's what we ought to do.
And would I be right in thinking that Formula One essentially, because of the agreements that are in force, has to stay the same until 2007?
Well, the current contracts are there till the end of 2007, yes, for sure. All the teams have to compete, and it basically has to stay as it is now. But as you know, Formula One never stays as it is. We hopefully move on. I hope it doesn't stay the way it is. I hope it moves on and progresses anyway.
You've been watching the first few races at home on ITV, yes, like millions of others out there. Just before we put this subject to bed, there is a fear that Formula One might go on paid television and not be available on terrestrial.
Absolutely no fear at all. The agreement I've made with these people is to stay with them for 5 years, if I'm alive and well. And that is that it will not go on pay-per-view. That's one of the agreements. And they've committed, they said it won't. I mean, Kirsch, that are basically a little bit, they're funding the operation for EMTV. They're also a broadcaster like you, free over air. They do pay-per-view and free over air broadcast, but their biggest, largest company is free over air television.
With all these hassles going on, are you wondering about your own personal involvement in this game?
No, nothing's changed for me. Everything's the same.
But you stay the ringmaster, you stay in control of Formula One?
Yeah, as much as I ever have been.
Bernie, just finally sum up for us F1 2001 from your point of view.
Going to be another good year. A few more people that can win, whether they do or not. is another story, but could win races.
And the little fellow in the white shirt is still going to be at the head of it all.
Well, let's see. Let's see.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you very much.
He'll go when he wants to, Tony, but just give us your view on things. You keep your ear very close to the ground in this sport.
Well, I think the manufacturers have poured millions in themselves and they've gone, hey, what about me? We need something back about this. In order to stay in longer, if they get something back, they can justify it to their own boards as well. But the team owners and the team managers think, well, hang on, the manufacturers come and the manufacturers go. We still have to run Formula One. That's why when we're having breakfast at Jordan the other morning, all these team bosses were coming out at the moment, they're having their own separate meetings. Perhaps they're also trying to get more out of it at the same time. What is clear to me is that it's not over yet.
Okay then. If you're just joining us, just over 20 minutes to go to the start of the San Marino Grand Prix, but Tony there mentioning some of the team's views. Let's hear some of those views, shall we? First of all, talking to Sir Frank Williams, the team boss of BMW Williams.
It must be clear that the Concord Agreement, which binds the FIA and the promoter and all the teams, does not expire till 2007. It's a long way down the road, so I do think that talk of a different series today is really premature. It doesn't bother me at all.
It's not 100% clear yet what has to be changed, what should be changed, what could be made better. But everybody has the same interests, is to keep Formula One as an interesting platform, as it is for a long, long time, because that's the only way that we all kind of get out something out of this business.
I've seen other series where many manufacturers have been involved and have basically killed the series. I only can hope that we find maybe a way that it still can run as in the past, because Bernie has proven right. Not everyone will agree always with the way he does it, but you have to look at the final result.
It's a great formula. It's a great form of motor racing. It is the pinnacle of motor racing, and there's too many people that want it to continue for it to go wrong. But it's going to be a long, protracted negotiation, I'm sure.
It is a great formula, and we will be right back with Murray's Imola Memories and Martin ducking and diving down the grid. Ferrari. I remember Bernie Eccleston saying here, I don't care who wins, as long as it's Ferrari, sentiments shared by the vast majority of the crowd. It's impossible, though, to spend a racing weekend at Imola without mentioning the deaths of Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, a tragic chapter in Murray Walker's Imola Memories.
Imola, close to Bologna and home of the passionate Ferrari-loving tifosi, has seen some truly epic races, as well as Formula One's most tragic weekend. The first San Marino Grand Prix was held in 1981, but a year later, Imola was the scene of bitter political confrontation, as a result of which 10 teams staged a boycott. Ferrari's Didier Pironi stole victory by breaking a pre-race agreement with his teammate Gilles Villeneuve. Still furious, Villeneuve was tragically killed at the very next event. But in 1983, the emotional tifosi erupted when Ferrari's Patrick Tambay won, carrying Villeneuve's famous number 27. In 1987, it was a dominant win for the man the tifosi called Il Leone, the Lion, Britain's Nigel Mansell.
Nigel Mansell, Williams Honda, crosses the line and takes the checkered flag to win the San Marino Grand Prix.
Nigel's teammate Nelson Piquet was a non-starter after a colossal crash at the Tamburello corner and had to watch in irritation as his arch-enemy took the spoils. It was at the start of the 1989 San Marino Grand Prix that Ayrton Senna and his McLaren teammate Alain Prost clashed. They would become implacable enemies. Senna won 3 times at Imola, but the track would eventually claim his life. His crash at Tamburello in 1994 robbed Formula One of one of its greatest ever drivers. Michael Schumacher took that race, but showed no joy from an empty victory. But in 1996, Damon Hill won for Williams for a second year in succession in what was to be his triumphant championship year. In 1999, Michael Schumacher brought joy to the Tifosi. His brilliant strategical win was helped by a rare mistake from Mika Häkkinen. Michael triumphed again last year with a similar superb strategy. Can Schumacher make it 3 in a row at Imola this year? In his current form, I wouldn't bet against it.
McLaren just might argue with you, though, Murray. They got their strategy absolutely right in Brazil. This time, Michael Schumacher has been stoking the fires, claiming they're on the wrong tyres. James Allen reporting.
Well, when Ferrari took that gamble on the harder Bridgestone tyre, they knew it was going to hurt them. They knew they might well lose the front row grid slot, and of course they did. And with it went the tactical advantage going into today's race. This place in general is a two-stop circuit. The thing is, no one really knows how long these softer Bridgestone tyres, which the McLaren team are using, how long they're going to last. Ferrari might choose to use the harder tyres to run some slightly longer stints. Time will tell, but don't rule out this guy here. He's my dark horse for the race, Ralf Schumacher. Those Michelin tyres have been running extremely strongly, and he could really put up a challenge. The key moment of today's race is going to be the middle stint going into that second pit stop. Then we'll find out who had the right strategy and the right tactics, and we'll probably find out who's going to win the race then. Should be fantastic.
James, thank you very much indeed. Just under 15 minutes to go to the start of the San Marino Grand Prix. Let's get right down there in the middle of all that action and join Martin Brundle.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, team. Happy Easter to you and welcome to the grid. So what do you want to know? Let's have a little cruise along. And 2 McLarens on the front row, of course. DC looking very relaxed and cool. I know he had a couple of great starts when he was practicing them this morning. Häkkinen, his wife's here for the first time for some races. Apparently she always brings him good luck. There's virtually absolutely no drivers on the grid at this time. I was checking them out just before you threw down to me, and they've all left the grid to go to the loo. So we're not going to see too many of those. I know Ralph just disappeared. We got I mean, look, it's a complete zoo on the grid here. You can virtually see absolutely nothing at all. But the crowd are remarkably calm. I know there's low numbers here today, and because it's Easter Sunday, but there's no real buzz that you normally get around here. But here's a man we can probably talk to. EJ, you were looking so good in Brazil, and then it all fell apart at the last. What is this on here?
Oh, come on, man. They're my special Easter pants, my lucky pants.
Your special Easter pants? Well, they made of chocolate or something. You eat them later or something?
I think they were given as a special little thing. We won't say who, but a special fan who sends us things and various things, and it's a lucky omen, I hope. Let's hope it. We didn't wear anything in Brazil. Let's hope I'm wearing it today. We can get something here.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, you looked so strong for some points. What's your prediction for today? Who's going to be strong?
Well, obviously the 2 guys in the front row, David, Mika, they will have a strong race. I wouldn't rule out ourselves. I wouldn't rule out the BMW because we saw what they were able to do in Brazil. But Michael still has to be the favourite. He's on the harder tyres. Whether that's a good thing or not now that the heat has come into the track, I think the soft tyre runner will still be okay. Who knows? Let's hope we have an exciting race like we've had. The first 3 races were absolutely brilliant, and yesterday's qualifying was equally as exciting. If it continues like that, who cares at the moment? It's a Jordan runner.
Best of Irish luck, Ed. Here's a little man I want to have a word with. Bernard, great to see you again. We've really, really missed you. We haven't seen you for ages.
Why is that?
Well, you've obviously been staying home watching F1 ITV, yeah?
No, I've been there. I've been there all the races. I just low profile, that's all.
All right. Oh, you've been there. We missed you. So what have you been up to? I see you've sold about 140% of Formula One so far. When are you getting rid of the rest of it?
Trying to get rid of the 60% this afternoon.
All right, yeah. So there's a little bit of flack out there at the moment. The old I've been out testing my Bentley Le Mans car, and I've sort of been out of the loop. I hear you're going to be working for the manufacturers or something.
I've been working for everybody all my life, so what difference? Another one way or the other won't make any difference.
Yeah, good. Well, I assume you're going to sort of put your normal piece of invisible elastic and it'll all come shooting back to you anytime soon.
Don't be naughty.
All right, good stuff. It's good to talk to you, Bernie. And look, don't leave us in a hurry because it'll all fall apart if you're not around.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Cheers. OK, I think that's probably enough from the grid. The Ferraris are here very, very late, and I'm going to throw you back to the studio.
Well done, Martin, our big Easter bunny, down there in the zoo on the grid. Jacques Villeneuve is looking to put things right, I would think, Tony Jardine, wouldn't he, in this race after a pretty miserable qualifying, Villeneuve?
Yeah, he said it didn't come to us at all, but Panis is ahead of him, and he won't be happy about that. He went a little bit too early, and Craig Pollock was complaining about the team going out too early in qualifying as well. But strong with the Honda power, and there's Nicky Lauda. And Eddie Irvine, your mate,
Edmund Irvine, yeah. The interesting thing with Jaguar at the moment is the Nicky Lauda, Bobby Rahal situation, and it's a real power play. But I'm interested to see who's still going to be there at the end of the season.
They're having a miserable time with that car, aren't they, at the moment, Jaguar? Who, Mark, though, do you think has got it right with these tyres now? It's warming up nicely.
It's going to be a lottery in some respects. I mean, you know, the problem is that the soft tyre is good in performance and will be good as the rubber gets laid down on the racetrack. The performance will get enhanced. But durability-wise, we might see that a harder tyre comes through, and as we say, we might see a Ferrari going for a one-stop strategy. We've seen it early on, and it could play off.
Well, that's a bit more like it. The Tifosi here, greeting, of course, the first Ferrari individual world champion back in Italy for 21 years. 1 and 2 gaps out there. The Catholic Bishop of Imola has said don't come to the race on this particular day, and there's a bit of a ticket scam as well. 12,000 tickets have gone missing, but Tony, no shortage of enthusiasm among that little lot.
No, I mean, this is the heart of Emilia-Romagna territory. They're a different set from the set of Tifosi that go up to Monza as well. They're a little bit quieter than at Monza, where they scale the fences and hurl missiles and things like that, but they're here for Ferrari. But unfortunately, when they read out the qualifying times yesterday, the crowd went silent. They don't understand the situation with the tyres.
Right then, well, David Coulthard ran the show here back in 1998, pole position and race winner. Are we in for an action replay? Will Hakkinen find the sweet spot at a circuit where he's never flourished? Who has chosen the right tyres? Can Michael Schumacher deliver for those Tifosi once again? Could it be Ralph's day in the Williams? Never discount Trulli, Montoya or Barrichello. The San Marino Grand Prix is next.